Welcome to LexAI, your AI-powered partner in mastering the law. We combine artificial intelligence, legal analysis, and jurisprudential insight to make complex legal doctrines clear, visual, and easy to understand. In this explainer, we're going to break down the evolution of adoption laws right here in the Philippines. First up, we'll trace how the law itself has changed. Then we'll get into the parties involved, who can adopt and who can be adopted. After that, we'll walk through the whole process, its legal effects, and then we'll tie it all together with the most important change of all, the big shift to a truly child-centered framework. All right, let's dive right in. We're kicking things off by looking at the core legal frameworks that have shaped adoption in the Philippines. You're going to see a really clear journey from what was once a simple procedure to a system that's all about a child's welfare. Now, this table right here really says it all. Check out the nature row. The old rules, Rule 99 and 100, they were treated as just procedural matters, but the 2002 rule, that's a whole different animal. It's a special, comprehensive rule. And here's the kicker, the part that's truly interesting. Look at that bottom row. We literally go from just regulating how families are created to this profound policy of upholding the best interest of the child. That philosophical shift, it's the key to absolutely everything that follows. So, you might be asking, how does a big philosophical shift like that actually affect the people involved? Well, let's take a look at the parties, the adopters on one side and the adoptees on the other. This new focus on the child's welfare has a direct impact on who's even qualified to adopt. The old Rule 99 was, well, pretty simple. If you were a Filipino of legal age, you were pretty much good to go. But as you can see in this table, the 2002 rule is way more specific. It lays out really clear requirements for age and marital status to make sure that home is a stable one. And another thing, the 2002 rule also opens the door for aliens to adopt under certain conditions, and it makes it mandatory for married couples to adopt jointly. That's a huge change to really reinforce the stability of the home. Now let's flip it around. Who can actually be adopted? This comparison perfectly illustrates a crucial new safeguard. The child now has to be formally declared legally available for adoption by the DSWD. So, what does that actually mean? It means this certification is now a cornerstone of the entire law. It's a required document that confirms the child has been properly and legally relinquished. This makes sure the whole process is legit right from the get-go. And this focus on legitimacy and having proper safeguards brings us right to our next section, the adoption process itself. Okay, so we've defined the parties. Now let's dig into how the process itself was modernized. A really important area of change was in the consents you need before an adoption can even move forward. Before, all you really needed was a simple written consent. But check out the huge difference here. The new rule adds this critical layer of protection. It actually mandates counseling for the biological parents by a DSWD social worker. This makes sure that their consent isn't just a signature on some piece of paper, but that it's a deeply considered, fully informed decision. Two major procedural changes really stand out here. First, a social worker is now mandatory for conducting home and child studies, no more maybe. And second, the 2002 rule introduced something brand new, a supervised trial custody. This is a required 6-month period where the child actually lives with the potential adopters, all under supervision. Think of it like a practical test to make sure the placement is a genuinely good fit before making it permanent. Okay, so let's say the process is complete, the adoption is finalized. What happens then? Let's talk about the legal effects and the rules on rescission, which is just the legal term for, undoing or canceling the adoption. So once an adoption is decreed, what are the legal consequences? And can you hit the undo button? Well, this is where we find what is maybe the most dramatic change in the entire law. And here it is. This is the big one. Under the old rules, adoption was a two-way street. It could be undone by either the parents or the child. But the 2002 rule, it changes everything. For the parents, adoption is now a permanent one-way commitment. There's no changing their minds. It's irrevocable. This change gives the child the ultimate security. It's a guarantee that they cannot be abandoned a second time. The power to rescind is now reserved solely for the adoptee. And as this table shows, it can only be done for really serious reasons. We're talking maltreatment, abuse, or abandonment. The new law also brought in some other modern features, like much stronger privacy protections and a formal regulated process for international adoptions. So, moving beyond rescission, the 2002 rule introduced other modern ideas. One of the most important ones is confidentiality. The law now makes strict confidentiality mandatory. The proceedings are sealed, the original birth record is hidden from public view, and a totally new one is issued. This whole setup is designed to protect the family from any stigma or public scrutiny. And on top of that, the law also created a formal pathway for inter-country adoption, which is governed by a central authority called ICAB to ensure that global adoptions meet the same really high standards. And that brings us to our final section, where we're going to wrap this all up and summarize the core doctrinal change that sits at the heart of all these reforms, the big child-centered shift. All right, let's bring it all home. Let's summarize that fundamental shift in legal philosophy that we've been tracking this entire time. This summary table right here is your ultimate cheat sheet. Seriously, it lays out all the essential distinctions side by side. Rescission, confidentiality, trial custody, you name it. Everything we've talked about is right here. It's the perfect tool for review. So, how would you actually apply this knowledge in a real-world scenario? Well, let's take a look at a typical bar question on rescission. It's asking you to compare the rules, say who can file, on what grounds, and what the effects are. And this is exactly how you'd structure a winning answer. You'd break down the who, only the adoptee under the new rule, and then the why, only for grave causes like maltreatment. But here's the most important part. You connect it all back to that core doctrine, that this change makes adoption an irrevocable commitment, all to protect the child. And that's really the final word. This single, powerful principle is the ultimate takeaway. It's the guiding star of modern Philippine adoption law. It's the why behind every single change, every safeguard, and every new requirement we've discussed today.